When all seemed lost, I found my inner strength and won. Hi, I'm Maya. Today, I want to share a story that completely changed my life, a journey of overcoming obstacles that happened when I was 16. Before that, my life was simple and peaceful. I lived with my grandmother Ruth, a calm and loving woman who always encouraged me to focus on my studies. My routine consisted mainly of school, helping around the house, and long afternoons reading in our small garden. Everything seemed under control, and I believed my life would follow this peaceful rhythm for a long time. My grandmother has always been my safe haven. Despite her age, she maintained a gentle discipline and a calm that conveyed security. Her home was a refuge from the noise and bustle of the outside world. We had our little rituals, like afternoon tea and evening conversations about books and dreams. I always felt protected and loved. At the time, I had no idea that this tranquility was about to be tested in ways I could never have anticipated. Everything changed the day my mother's cousin, Jessica, knocked on our door with her 3 children. She was going through a very difficult time, full of pain and problems she barely knew how to describe. She had nowhere to go, and our grandmother, with a huge heart, decided to take her in temporarily. I remember feeling a mixture of hope and apprehension in that moment. It was as if the world as I knew it was beginning to shake. In the early days, everything felt a little strange, but I forced myself to accept Jessica and the children. I knew my grandmother was doing what she thought was right, and that no one chooses to suffer. No one chooses to lose their footing like this. But their presence changed the rhythm of the house. The silence gave way to hurried footsteps, unexpected cries, and low arguments. The routine I knew began to crumble, and with it, a growing sense of insecurity. I tried to focus on my studies, but it was difficult. The house was more crowded, the space more cramped. I felt like my freedom, the one I had built with so much effort, was being invaded. Grandma Ruth, despite her efforts to maintain the peace, was also visibly tired. The tension in the air was palpable, and I began to realize that, no matter how hard we tried, this wouldn't be an easy solution. Aunt Veronica, my mother's sister, stepped in to help, and it was a blessing. She began mediating conversations, organizing the house, and establishing rules that worked for everyone. But even with all her goodwill, the conflict between the need to welcome and ensuring no one got hurt was constant. I saw the silent fights between adults and felt the weight of responsibility that no one wanted to fully shoulder. Little by little, the difficulties intensified. Jessica, trying to find her feet, faced her own demons, and this directly reflected in the atmosphere at home. The children, despite their young age, felt the tense atmosphere and reacted with tears and tantrums. I felt increasingly isolated, as I didn't want to fight with anyone, but I felt my voice getting lost amid so many loud, angry voices. The pressure began to affect my studies. I, who had always been dedicated, began to feel tired, unmotivated, and sometimes even guilty for wanting some peace. The guilt was overwhelming because I knew we were helping someone in need, but my own well-being was being neglected. It was a daily internal struggle between what I should feel and what I actually felt. At one point, it seemed like nothing would work out. I almost gave up on school, my routine, my own happiness. The conflicts within my home consumed me, and I felt a void growing inside me, a loneliness that seemed invincible. I lay awake at night, wondering if I could get out of that situation without losing myself in the process. It was at this point that Aunt Veronica approached me to talk. She listened to me without judgment and helped me understand that taking care of myself was essential so I could help those around me. It was a turning point, as I finally accepted that I didn't have to carry the world alone. This conversation gave me the strength to seek help and better organize myself to face challenges. I began seeking out small spaces for myself, for my studies, for my peace. It was a gradual and painful process, as the house remained full of tensions, but I learned to set boundaries gently, to say no when necessary, and to ask for help when I could no longer do it alone. I discovered that self-love wasn't selfish, but a necessary foundation for balance. Communication also improved. Little by little, Aunt Veronica helped create an environment where everyone could express themselves without fear, with respect and empathy. I learned to listen and be heard, which made our lives easier. This change wasn't quick, and it wasn't always easy, but it was crucial for us to support each other without hurting each other. Jessica also began taking steps toward recovery. With her family's support, she sought professional help and found the strength to face her challenges. The children, who previously lived in cruel instability, began to find homes where they felt safer. Seeing this transformation gave me hope and made me believe that love can, indeed, rebuild lives. I also changed a lot during that period. From an insecure and repressed teenager, I became a young woman more aware of my emotions and needs. I learned to be patient with myself and others, to appreciate small advances, and to recognize my own strengths. This difficult period taught me that overcoming challenges isn't an end point, but a constant journey. One of my most memorable moments was when I managed to improve my grades in school and excel in an important project. It was proof that despite the obstacles, I could continue dreaming and fighting for my future. This moment brought me a sense of personal victory, as if I had regained something I had almost lost: my self-confidence. I also realized how much family support makes a difference. Grandma Ruth, even when exhausted, showed admirable resilience. She was the heart of that home, the one who held the bridge so no one would fall into the abyss. Her example taught me the importance of compassion, but also of firmness to protect what is essential. Without her, we wouldn't have found this crucial balance. In the midst of it all, I learned to deal with my deepest emotions: anger, sadness, fear, and anxiety. Facing these feelings was a daily battle, but a necessary one. I couldn't simply ignore what I felt, as that only led me astray. Accepting and working through these emotions helped me grow, become more human and true to myself. There were days when I truly thought I couldn't go on. The emotional overload, the fear of the future, and the uncertainty of how the situation would end paralyzed me. But something inside me told me not to give up, to believe that even in the midst of the storm, there was a light. This ray of hope guided me when everything seemed too dark. Aunt Veronica also taught me that asking for help isn't a weakness, but an act of courage. That's how I started participating in support groups at school and talking to people who were going through similar situations. Knowing I wasn't alone made all the difference, as we shared fears, achievements, and strategies for moving forward. My grandmother's house, once a place of silence and calm, became a home pulsating with life and emotions. Over time, this chaos gave way to a new, more flexible and humane order. We learned to live with differences and respect each other's space. This experience taught me that home is made of people, not walls or routines. Little by little, Jessica was able to get back on her feet and make important decisions for her and her children's future. I watched this transformation with a heavy heart, but filled with pride. Seeing someone I loved overcome their own challenges inspired me to keep fighting for mine. I realized that overcoming challenges can be contagious, and that love is a powerful force for real change. I discovered I was stronger than I imagined. Difficulties forced me to look within, face my fears, and find creative solutions to everyday problems. This early maturity made me realize that life isn't perfect, but that we can build something beautiful even with imperfections. I won't lie, there were times when anxiety paralyzed me, and emotional exhaustion almost won. But I always remembered the words of my grandmother and Aunt Veronica, who encouraged me to believe in my ability to endure. It was this support network that kept my feet firmly on the ground and my heart hopeful. I also learned to appreciate the small victories: a peaceful day, a smile from a child, a sincere conversation. These moments gave me the energy to keep going. They reminded me of why I was fighting and helped me maintain faith that things could get better. This daily gratitude was a fundamental pillar in my process of overcoming adversity. Over time, the arguments subsided, and our relationship became more harmonious. We learned to recognize each other's limits and respect each other's personal space. This change was the result of a lot of patience, dialogue, and collective commitment. Experience taught me that overcoming challenges together requires conscious and constant effort. The stability we so desperately desired for the children finally began to take hold. Seeing the little ones sleeping peacefully, playing in the yard, and smiling brought me a sense of peace and fulfillment I'd never experienced before. Knowing they had a safe home was a huge relief for all of us, and it made all the struggle worthwhile. My life also returned to a calmer pace, but with a new awareness. I understood that overcoming adversity doesn't mean forgetting the past, but rather learning from it and using those lessons to build a better future. This realization changed the way I face difficulties, transforming them into opportunities for growth. Looking back today, I see how much that difficult period shaped me. I'm no longer the same Maya who lived through those days of uncertainty and fear. I'm a stronger, more resilient person, capable of loving without sacrificing self-care. This transformation was painful, but essential for my personal and emotional development. The experience also taught me the importance of family and community support. No one overcomes such a huge challenge alone. We need support networks, people who listen to us and help us carry the weight when it seems unbearable. This lesson is something I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. What impacted me most was realizing that love isn't simple or linear. It requires effort, patience, and often the courage to say no and set boundaries. I learned that loving also means protecting and caring for ourselves so we can be whole for others. This new perspective on love completely changed my relationship with my family. In the process of overcoming grief, I also had to learn to forgive, not only the mistakes of others, but also my own. The guilt I carried for wanting some peace, for feeling anger or sadness, was a weight I needed to let go of to move forward. Forgiveness was a key that opened doors to my emotional freedom. I faced many dark days, where it felt like my emotions would drown me, but it was precisely in those moments that I discovered the strength of my own spirit. The will to not give up, even when all seemed lost, was an inner fire that never let go. This flame is what now drives me to share my story, in the hope of helping those going through the same thing. Life has taught me that crises can be turning points, moments when we choose to change our trajectory. I chose not to be a victim of circumstances, but rather the protagonist of my own story. This decision made all the difference and took me to places I never imagined I'd reach. Overcoming adversity is an ongoing process, and every step counts. Today, I live with more purpose and balance. I continue studying and pursuing my dreams, but now with a more compassionate outlook on myself and others. I know that difficulties will not disappear, but that I can face them with courage and serenity. This certainty is a foundation that strengthens me daily. My family's story has changed. What once seemed like an impossible burden to bear is now an example of unity and resilience. People who arrived as strangers have become part of my world, and together we've built something new and valuable. This transformation gives me hope for the future and pride in who we've become. Sharing this experience with you is an act of courage and love. I hope my story touches those going through difficult times and shows that overcoming is possible, even when all seems lost. I want you to know that you are not alone, and that there is always a light at the end of the tunnel, even if it seems distant. If I could give one piece of advice to anyone facing similar challenges, it would be, take care of yourself first. Respect your limits, allow yourself to feel, and seek help. Life is made of cycles, and this one will pass. Believe in your ability to transform pain into learning and struggle into victory. I'm here to tell you that no matter how big the storm, there's always a path to calm. Overcoming obstacles isn't a destination, but a journey full of ups and downs, which teaches us about life and ourselves. May we all find this strength within ourselves and move forward with courage. I am deeply grateful to my grandmother, Aunt Veronica, and my family, who, even amidst the chaos, never gave up believing in love and transformation. Without them, I wouldn't be here, telling this story. This unconditional support is what sustains us and makes us grow, even in the most difficult times. Finally, I want to say that my life has changed for the better, not because everything became perfect, but because I learned to deal with imperfections and find beauty in the little things. Overcoming obstacles is a daily process, built on courage, self-love, and a lot of resilience. Thank you for listening, and I hope this story inspires you as much as it inspired me to live every step of it.